Hey, and welcome to the Deep Resilience Podcast. I'm your host, Melli O'Brien, and in this podcast, along with my weekly newsletter and the Deep Resilience program, we are focusing on one clear goal: translating the best evidence-based tools and the deep wisdom teachings on mental resilience into practical everyday strategies that are accessible to everyone. It is my deep passion to bring you content that breaks down big concepts in ways that make sense to you, but also to make sure I give you tools in each episode that you can immediately use to grow your inner strength and create real positive change in your life and in the world. And hey, if you want to take your inner strength to the next level, be sure to join my newsletter at melliobrien.com, where you'll receive a whole range of extra benefits, special offers, and bonuses. And let's dive in now to today's episode. Hey friends, welcome to the Deep Resilience Podcast. This episode is called Being Your Own Algorithm, and it's about the spiritual practice of digital discernment in today's world. And I think it's so important right now to be very intentional around how we're going to move forward in our relationship to the technology in our life, because we're standing at a very unique crossroads right now. We are living in a time when our minds are more connected than ever in the digital landscapes, and yet many of us are feeling more disconnected and lonely. And I think the Surgeon General in the United States has been talking on stages all around the world about what he's calling the loneliness pandemic. And there are other unintended consequences that seem to now be very obvious to us all about how these technologies have affected us. And many of us couldn't see these unintended consequences coming 10 years ago. We nevertheless have seen a huge rise in the effects, especially on young people and on developing brains. Anxiety, depression, suicidality, chronic stress, lowering attention spans. In fact, in Australia, the research is so compelling on the negative effects of some social media platforms on developing brains that they recently passed a law that people under the age of 16 are actually banned from social media in Australia. Pretty radical stuff. But here we stand at this point right now where we see all these unintended consequences. There's been so much good that has come from the internet and from these social media platforms, and also at the same time, there's been many unintended consequences that make some people ask these days, was it really worth it? There's the bad. Does the bad outweigh the good? Does the good outweigh the bad? I'm not going to have an opinion on that. There is so much good that has happened in my own life from the information age, but I also see the challenges that are happening in the world. So, I think the most important thing to know is that these algorithms that are behind a lot of the platforms that we're using, they're not necessarily bad. They're just not designed with our well-being in mind. Their job is to hold our attention and to influence our behavior and our perception, not necessarily to nourish our hearts and support our growth. And that's just the way that it's also a part of just how capitalist society works. So, nevertheless, it's very important to keep our eyes open to that fact. It's easy to feel like we can be swept up in a current that's just pulling us away from our own inner stillness, from the deeper wisdom that lives inside of us, from peace, but we are not powerless in that current. Today, I want to gently invite us into an exploration about how we can begin to reclaim our inner peace, our agency, and our own well-being, not through force or rejection or fear, but through awareness, care, and small conscious choices. So I want to rewind the clock a little bit here and share with you a moment that was pre the internet being in my life, where I really realized the power of being discerning around our mental diet, if you will. So many, many years ago, as a teenager, I remember having this experience of flipping through a fashion magazine and suddenly noticing a pattern. So in this moment, I'm reading the fashion magazine and I suddenly feel this dark cloud of unworthiness just kind of roll through my emotional system. My stomach tightened, my chest felt heavy, my mood plummeted. And in that moment, I clocked a pattern. This was not the first time this had happened. I noticed that every time I read a beauty magazine, the same thing was happening. So that day, I made a decision. So this was a time in my life where I was recovering from an eating disorder and depression, and I was doing a lot of other things to support my mental well-being. So this day, I was like, you know what? I'm never buying another beauty magazine, ever. It was a quiet turning point because for me, it was a moment of agency. I'm going to look after my mental well-being. This is my responsibility. And, I'm going to make the decisions that help me to thrive and do well and grow as a person. And this, for me, became the beginning of a lifelong practice of tending to my inner life with more care and intention and empowerment. So one of the things I've come to understand over the years is that our attention can get easily hooked or triggered by certain types of content because these platforms tap into the same ancient parts of our brains that the beauty magazine did as well. The human mind is wired in such a way that it has, conditioning. And part of that conditioning is we have a drive to belong, right? To fit in, to be approved of, to be special. We have a drive to avoid threats. That means we're more attracted to sensational content or negative headlines or things that we might need to worry about. And we also have a drive to chase novelty and reward. So it can be quite easy to hook us to behaviors like clicking, scrolling, or certain games or other behaviors that get likes or different kinds of rewards. None of this means there's anything wrong with us. It just means that we have a normal human mind. So some of these platforms are very, very good at pushing the buttons of those ancient parts of our brain. And while that's good for the algorithm and it might feel good in the moment, like we might get a dopamine hit or it feels good to get a like or there's something strangely satisfying about doom scrolling. While those things can feel good in the moment, they often mean that we lose touch with deeper parts of ourselves, wiser parts of ourselves. And it can also, in the long term, lead to many of those unintended consequences we were talking about in the beginning, right? It stokes the fires of divisiveness, overconsumption, negativity, anxiety, depression, stress. So if we're not aware when we're, navigating the digital landscape, it's very easy to lose touch with our higher wisdom, with the deeper parts of ourselves, the parts that crave true connection, a meaningful life, and fulfillment. So what does it look like to start to become our own algorithm? So these are kind of gentle invitations rather than this having to feel like it's an extreme thing where we're going to cut everything out or try to be perfect. But it is inviting in more presence, more intention, and also it's an invitation to love ourselves enough, to care for ourselves enough to try to navigate the digital world in ways that help us to thrive. So here's a few gentle invitations to help you begin. The first is to notice what you're feeding your mind. Just like doing a gentle audit. What am I taking in each day? How long am I spending online? Does it uplift me? Is it connecting me with my values or pulling me away from them? Does it nourish me or does it drain me? And just start there. Start with awareness. Awareness is a wonderful way to just take stock of what's happening so that you can bring in more intentionality. The second tip is to clear a little space. So you might like to unfollow, mute, or take a digital pause from certain platforms, behaviors, or just certain amounts of time in your life, such as having no phone inside your bedroom at night or in the morning. And this is not done as a rejection, but more as an act of care towards yourself and support towards yourself. Even little breaks can help to settle your nervous system and bring back more mental clarity. The third thing is to fill your time, and especially the time in the morning, for other things that are more nourishing. So for many of us, we end up spending time unconsciously scrolling, clicking, just being online, consuming content. And so instead of just sort of unconsciously filling all the gaps in your lives, try thinking about inserting things that are more nourishing. Instead of reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, you could try taking 5 deep breaths or having a quiet cup of tea or coffee. Let those first moments of the day belong to you and be really deliberate. And that will tend to flow into the rest of your day, but also in just the rest of your day, see if you can deliberately insert nourishing activities that you do with intention rather than unconscious scrolling that just kind of fills all the gaps in your day. The fourth thing is just to be patient and kind to yourself when you slip up. You know, there will be times when you go down a digital rabbit hole. There's no need to be perfect. Just keep on thinking about discernment as an ongoing spiritual practice. You don't need to judge yourself when you slip, but it can be helpful to reconnect with your intention to support your own mental well-being as the digital landscape changes and keeps advancing and speeding up and becoming more and more sophisticated. Keep noticing when you get pulled off course. Reconnect with your intention to support yourself and care for yourself, and just be kind to yourself in that whole process. That the return is the practice. Yeah, the noticing, the connecting to the intention, the starting again, that is the practice. So, a closing reflection. There's a saying that I love. The mind is our true home because it's the one place we carry with us wherever we go. So if that's true, then how we tend to our mental environment is one of the most important things we'll ever do in our lives. So being your own algorithm isn't a rejection of our modern world or technology. It's a way of meeting it with more wisdom, more love, more intentionality, and more presence. It's a practice of coming home to yourself and your own wisdom again and again, and choosing what truly nourishes your heart, supports your mind, and allows you to live a truly meaningful and fulfilling life. So just to gently recap the 4 steps. 1, notice what you're feeding your mind. Do that little inventory, maybe once a week, once a month, or a time period that suits you. 2, clear a little space. Unfollow, mute, have more time in your life off the tech if that supports you. 3, begin your day with intention. And also in the rest of the day, see if you can be more deliberate about bringing more nourishing things into your life rather than unconsciously filling all your gaps with technology. 4, practice compassion when you slip. Just keep on noticing, reconnecting to your intention to support yourself, and then, practicing more discernment. So when you practice like this, when you be your own algorithm as a kind of spiritual practice, you might notice you'll start to feel a little bit more calm, a little bit more mental clarity, and return to who you really are beneath the noise, what your values are, what really matters to you, and it will support you in living a life that's true to you. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope this episode was helpful for you and helps you to navigate the digital world in a way that really supports you and serves you in being your best self in this digital world that we're living in. Until next time, take good care of your mind and your heart, and I'll look forward to being with you again on the next episode of the Deep Resilience Podcast. If you know someone who you think might benefit from listening to this episode, share it with them. Sharing it could really help them to feel better and improve the quality of their life. And if you found this episode helpful, remember to subscribe to this podcast so that you can receive more tips on growing your inner strength and keep practicing along with us every week. And if you'd like some more support in becoming mentally, emotionally, and spiritually stronger, come check out the offerings I have to support you on my website at www.melliobrien.com. As well as coaching and course options, I also have a bunch of free resources for you, including a free Deep Resilience Care Package, which you can begin to use right away to get some immediate relief from stress and suffering, improve your resilience and mental well-being, and help you navigate whatever you're going through with more wisdom, skill, and confidence. You can find the links for all of that in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in. Take care and stay strong.